Okay, we're live.
Hello, guys.
Howdy. Good evening. This is Hydro Hustlers, episode 7, with Miss Snooty Grows here doing the hosting. We have Honey Bear Casey and Alki Mitten, and our special guest, Spartan Grown from the other show and a few other shows. So let's just get started. I am going to let Spartan introduce himself. I started us off, and let's see. What do you do out there in Michigan, Spartan?
Hello, everybody. I'm Spartan Grown. You may know me, you may not know me, but I'm a grower out here in Michigan, home grower. I grow organically at home, but for my real job, we'll say, I grow weed also, and I do that commercially, synthetically at Mitten Cannaco. And it's
Awesome.
Mitten Cannaco's around, I think it's almost, I think July will be 2 years old. Will be 2 years old.
Awesome. I see what you're doing out there, hustling hard. I love the videos that you guys pump out over there. Awesome looking weed.
Thank you. Yeah, we try hard. We came from the caregiver market here in Michigan, all of us. You know, both my bosses, so both Matt and Steve, both were caregivers when they started. And when I went there for a job interview, here's a fun fact. I don't know if I've said this too many times on any of the shows that I've been on, but when I was shopping around for a job, I had a job at the time. I was working in a factory here in Michigan, and it was a decent paying job. So I was really picky. Like, I wasn't like going to say, I'm going to just take any job out there just to get my foot in the door. I was like, no, I'm going to make sure that if I'm going to be working for somebody else, because really, like most people probably, I'm assuming, you have dreams of doing it yourself, not working for somebody else. But when I saw here in Michigan, the way that the barrier to entry they have here, like, was, or especially early on in the medical side, it was like millions of dollars that you would need to have. But instead of saying, well, I can't do it, I'm just screwed. No, if you can't beat them, join them. Right. So my plan was, I'm going to go work for a big grow, and then maybe I can pick up some things and learn what I need to know to do that transition from, a basement grow to a giant commercial grow. And so that's what I had in my mind, is like, I want to go work for somebody that I can get along with, that's going to have the same ideas and stuff that I have as far as ethos goes. And then I wanted somebody I could learn from, somebody that I felt was competent enough that, I don't want to learn from somebody who does a terrible job. You want to learn from somebody who does a good job. So those are the things I was looking for. So when I went for interviews, I wanted to have tours of the facility. I wanted to see the damn plants. I wanted to, you know what I mean? I wanted to see, cut the bullshit. Let me see what your plant looks like, and I'll be able to tell everything I need to know.
That's how you decide jobs.
Yeah. And I think that helps. It helps you too as a job applicant, because it makes you, look like you're very interested in the job if you wanting to see the plants and you're asking questions and things like that. So I do get that question a lot from people, like, how do I get my foot in the door, or what tips do you have to get me in there? And I guess that right there would be a really good tip, is do a little research on the company you're going to go work for. Make sure that's somebody you want to work for, and in that research you're going to learn about that company, so when they bring up things, you're going to impress them with your knowledge of the company. Like, you're going to show up and you're going to be like, yeah, I already know, you guys are doing this, and this. And it just makes you look way better. But yeah, anyways, I fell in with Mitten Cannaco, and I seen, I went to that, and I could tell by the, they talk the talk, they walk the walk, and when we walk through, the plants look good too. So that's when I just said, yeah, let's do it. Haven't looked back. I'm glad I haven't. What was that, Honey Bear? I just called you a honey.
Honey. Hey. I know. I liked it. It was so smooth.
I said they're not sales.
He gets that all the time.
Outside of 3-4 dispensaries, it's impossible in the state. So congrats to those guys. They are doing it right. And from everything I hear, it's pure fire you guys grow there. So.
Oh yeah, I've seen them. They always look stellar in your pics.
Thanks. It's not all fucking sunshines and rainbows. We have failed testing and stuff like that, and we're continually like trying to improve, right? one of the cool things, this is a recent thing, one of the cool things that Steven implemented was bonuses for hitting different benchmarks on harvests and things like that, which is a great motivator to keep everyone on the team, you know, wanting to make sure you're getting the best available product every single time. So little things like, little things like that is great. And then I don't know, I would say 98% of the secret to success, I think, in the cannabis field commercially is the team. And it's the people that, like the chemistry of the team. You have to have that team mentality to really survive, I think, because, well, here's a perfect example for you. At Mitten Cannaco, we have a total of, is it 5? 1, 2, 3, 6. I'm sorry, 6 employees, 6 total employees that runs that whole operation, and 3,000 plant grow, and we have similar grows in our area. And when we drive past them and we look at the parking lot, our parking lot at the most you're ever going to see is 6 cars. We drive past similar grows to ours size wise, and you'll see like a parking lot full of cars, like 30, 40 cars. And you're like, that's how the little guy can still compete against the big guys, because the big guy is going to be paying 12, 13, 50, 60, how many employees compared to your 5. You can really make up a lot of ground if everybody is, is willing to bust ass and do their job. I don't know.
It makes a huge difference if you have a coercive team. I watch that at the job I have right now. There are teams that work really smoothly, and there are teams that are just like, and you can tell what works better. I'm lucky that me and my weekenders also, we 3 are a solid unit. We hang out together outside of work and inside of work, and you can tell we communicate properly. We hustle hard, we work hard, we play hard. It makes such a difference.
And that's the thing. I agree with you 100%. And that's the thing that stuck out to me, because I was coming from, now you're coming from I worked in the factories. I'm like the stereotypical Michigander. That's the people they call people from Michigan. I was a factory rat. I was the guy that after high school, I got a job at a factory. I got a taste of that factory money, and I beat the shit out of my body for the next 20 years in factories, working ungodly hours. And, but at the same time, in those factories were unions, and the whole idea of standing together and how you can affect change if you were willing to stand up as a group, and all those kind of ideals. You kind of see how sometimes that works, and sometimes you can see the good sides and bad sides of those things. And then leaving that atmosphere and going to a totally opposite atmosphere of, now I'm one of 5 employees or one of 6 employees instead of one of 600 employees. Now each employee is super important. Like when you have 600 employees, 1 employee gets sick, not a big deal. You have 6 employees, 1 employee gets sick, that's a big deal. So like you said, when you're only 6 people, you have no choice but to be a tight-knit group, because you're going to be around each other more than you're around most of your family members and everything else. So it's great when you get those people that just fit right in, and it's almost like it's the hive mind, I call it. Is like we go into a situation, and like Steve or Matt will have a list on the whiteboard of what needs to get done for the day, and then the rest of us, we just fucking just tackle it, and it's almost like we don't have to say anything if we don't want to. I mean, we're jabbering the whole time, but nobody has to tell anybody, hey, go do this, go do that. Where's this? Where's that? It's just everybody knows what they're good at. We let them do what they're good at. And, we do what we're good at, kind of a thing. Like, here's a perfect example. I absolutely hate IPM spraying. I don't like spraying the plants. It's not fun, because you got to put on all these masks. And when you have a beard, you got to wear the big mask. And it's just uncomfortable at the least. Right. And we have a guy there, TJ, that I work with, much love to TJ, because TJ loves to spray. So he's like, dude, I was bitching about it. I was bitching about it one time. He goes, dude, I don't mind spraying. I'm like, bro, if you want to spray, I'll do whatever the fuck else you don't want to do. And boom, now I get to do something I'd rather do, and he gets to do something he'd rather do. So it's a win-win. Something simple like that, where in a factory, your boss is going to write you up for bitching about doing the job you don't like to do. You know what I mean? Whereas when you're in a group setting where you can just kind of work it out amongst yourselves, it's so much better. So much better to work with each other than against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Did you agree
Absolutely, especially like what you said.
Did you agree on a protocol
flies.
initially, or?
Well, that was the thing. Initially, the spray, nobody really cared for spraying. So TJ is the latest employee. That's why I keep saying 5, because we used to have 5. But now he's the 6th.
Yeah, also
So he's the new guy, and but before he was there, no, we would just alternate people. So did you do it last? Yeah, I don't have to do it this time. Sweet. Okay, then so and so gets to do it. You know what I mean? You know, and everybody's like, "Oh no, I did it 2 times ago." Oh, it's your turn. So it's one of those things. So yeah, everybody would just alternate before. So everybody would just do it, which is fair. You know what I mean? If nobody likes to do it, then we're just going to alternate the task, because the task still has to get done.
And that's the important thing, that you guys are completing the tasks and everything's getting done every day in a timely fashion and not taking extra time and all that. So
yeah,
no drama, no fucking.
And we've had drama in the past, and we've worked it out and taken care of it. And that's another thing, is like, when you have drama, don't ignore it. That's like
that's the big factory life.
Yeah, exactly. And so, again, when you're in a close-knit team like that, you just got to squash it. You just got to figure it out, and you got to squash it. Don't pretend like it's not there. Don't just deal with it. You know what I mean? Just ignore it, that kind of thing. Just get it out there and be like, okay, what's going on, guys? We see there's something going on here. Let's figure this shit out, because we don't got time to be, fucking shit up here. This is plants' lives we're talking about here. We're not talking about bullshit here.
Oh,
and
yeah,
like
but it's
the
also
plants are affected by that. Yeah,
100%.
Everyone needs to be professional. Plants are affected by the vibes you put out there. If there's a lot of drama every day, the plants aren't gonna love it.
And how refreshing is it to work for somebody that understands something like that? Can you imagine working for?
Yeah.
In my head, like, I can't think of any factory I ever worked for that any boss wouldn't have laughed me out of a fucking office when I even mentioned something like that. You know what I mean? But I literally have
my
had
boss right now would laugh at me.
See, and I've had Matt tell me, he's the COO, and I've had Matt sit there and tell me, jokingly, to somebody across the room who was yelling, saying, "Hey, don't be yelling. You're gonna hurt the plant's feelings," But he 100% agrees with me with that, and I can show you white papers that will tell you that having negative energy around plants. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you go and hug that plant, apologize, and make amends.
So I have a real quick question for you that I heard you talk about the other night, and I just want to clarify. You guys have your 6 employees, but then on trim days, you do bring in outside trimmers, correct?
Yeah. We don't have a trim crew or anything like that.
There was just a chat about that going in chat, and people were questioning how you guys were doing 320 plants, doing the math and all that. And I heard you clarify the other thing. You bring in outside trimmers, so I just wanted to clarify that for everyone in chat. So
we I'm just sorry, Chad, I can't keep up. I was all lost in conversation, but yeah. So we harvest every 2 weeks. We pull down 150 plants every 2 weeks. Usually on average. Sometimes it's a little bit more plants we'll squeeze in there. We have a 3,000 plant count, but we very rarely have 3,000 plants total in there. We try to stay a little underneath there to always be good. No matter, you never know when they're going to show up for an inspection, so might as well just always be good. And
never know when the other guy's going to show up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. So
I have Steve Eddie's number on my phone. So.
So every 2 weeks we're pulling and usually it's me. That's I think I've one harvest in the 2 years. I missed one harvest. But
so you guys do all the harvesting, like the harvesting, the trimming. You do not have a harvest team, then the cultivators do that.
We have a trim team. So after it's dry and they have to trim the product, they do that. But we harvest the plants. So yeah, I'm in there and I'm chopping down. Usually it's me and Matt. So between the two of us, we harvest every plant. We cut down. We physically touch every single one of those 150 plants, and we usually get that done in less than 8 hours. I mean, sometimes
I'd like to do that. I don't get to harvest the plants. That's the one thing. I go in there in the morning and I do like a little goodbye prayer. But I would love to be like the one that's handling them.
It's one of my favorite days because I know exactly. I know what I'm going to be doing when I go into work. There's no question. And I know that if I get this harvest done and I crush it out, get it done fast and done, and I get to go home. So if we can smash out a harvest in 6 hours, we can leave after 6 hours and get paid for the whole day. If we smash that out in 4 hours, we can get out of there in 4 hours and get paid for the whole day. So everybody is like motivated to do a good job, but also be fast because it's your time now, and you just get to go home and still be paid for it. I mean, it's a great
business.
Yeah,
yep.
It's like he understands. He came the same place we came from, so he doesn't want to keep all the money for himself, and it's just a great system. It's great so far. I'm really happy where I'm at.
You're very lucky.
I am, and I thank I thank God, thank whatever, the creator, whatever anybody wants to believe in. I just thank my lucky stars. How about that? That I get to legally go to work and grow weed, and then come home and grow weed and smoke weed in my own house. I wish it was more free than what it is, but I am still damn lucky to do what I do every day. So
I agree.
And then I get to go online and talk about it to everybody and help them grow weed.
Yeah.
And you're definitely everywhere online talking about it. That's for sure. It's hard to keep track of what shows you're not on nowadays.
Hey, I'm addicted, man. I'm addicted. I love. As soon as you stop learning,
Let's
I feel
talk
like
about what shows you're on.
Oh, that's just it. We're always learning, and that's.
I feel like I feel like on the organic side of things, not so much on the synthetic side. There's not a whole lot of new things coming out, but on the organic side of things, it's like it seems like almost every day something new is coming out. The newest one, just off the top of my head, they're talking about humic acid. Have you heard the humic acid drama yet? Talk about a bombshell.
I skimmed it. Yeah.
Humic acid is created by the test agents that they use to test for humic acids. They used a different way to test, like I think it was an electron microscope or something. They used a different way to test for humic acids otherwise, and there was no humic acids. The only way they get humic acids supposedly by this list is by using these agents in a test agent, and that creates humus. I'm like, what? So that's like a complete like what? Okay, so what is all this humic acid research that we've done? How does that apply to anything anymore?
Yeah, nothing.
Oh, you got
nothing cool like that going on in hydro news this week.
Yeah. So that's what's really intriguing to me on the organic side of things is that to me it seems like it would be like studying about space. It's new information and people are still trying to figure shit out. That's cool. Everything isn't figured out yet. So to me, that's my playground is the organic side of things because we don't. How can you tell me I'm doing it wrong when we don't know what the fuck we're doing yet? We can't explain exactly. We haven't had it figured out yet. Every time we think we have it figured out, we find a whole new rabbit hole to go down, and we're trying to figure it out all over again.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, in general, all kind of growers are pretty good gardeners, I must say. But like the organic growers are also really pushing it. Like you can really compete with knowledge, but that's what I'm saying. Like most cannabis growers can, but yeah, like living soil and stuff like that, you can. Yeah, it's a craft you can teach anybody.
Oh, for sure. And what's amazing to me about like the living soil approach, like what you're talking about there, is that you could teach it to a 5-year-old and the basic concept of it. And I mean, you probably couldn't get the concept of microbes and stuff through them, but you could tell them do this, this, and this. And it's really easy. I mean, but people think that organics is so hard that because the information it can get so in depth on crazy things that the information but the information is the way you have to look at the information is just, it's just you understanding what's going on with the plant. You just have to have faith, just like you do with anything else, like the Bible or anything else, that the shit's going to work, man. It's like,
that's my method.
Well, I was lucky enough to grow up. My very first job, I worked on a farm. I've been growing plants for a long ass time. So for me, coming like the old farm boy coming in out of the fields, you know, for me, it's real easy for me to know that, yeah, I can just fucking throw water on this and it should grow. I mean, I don't need to fucking be putting a bunch of bullshit on here. So for me, the organic move was really easy because it was like, I wasn't scared I was going to kill my plants because I didn't have the right NPK ratios or everything. It's like most people I hear coming from the hydroponic or the synthetic route and going towards the organic route are so worried about, well, what happens if I have this deficiency, that deficiency, this deficiency? I'm like, well, for one, you don't have a deficiency right now, so you can stop stressing. That's one. I said, you're already too worked up for this.
Stop.
And for two, you just deal with it when you get to it. But generally speaking, compost will fix most of your nutrient issues.
And worm poop.
Yeah, well, that's a compost. So yeah, exactly. Okay. It's a vermicompost. So, but yeah, compost is a way to address for me. Like I'll throw compost at it first, and if that doesn't fix it, then I'll start trying to be smart about it. But I mean, worm castings too. That's my shit right there. Like literally, that is my shit.
You taught me that, and it's like not done me wrong at all. Even in hydro, I was like, you know, like today, I'm gonna throw some worm shit at you, and it comes back fine. At work, even we started using big, huge, like pallets of worm shit now, and every time we do anything, I'm like, don't forget the worm poop. You're not using enough worm poop.
You can't. I mean, I guess you could go too heavy on it, but fuck, man, that stuff is such. And you can get away with such a little application to still get a decent result, like 10% of the mass of your pot. You know, I'm not asking for a lot, but you can throw, like, I don't even really measure it. Like, if I see a plant starting to yellow up a little bit, I'm like, fuck it, a layer. It's going to be like this much a layer, whatever it takes to cover about, you know, whatever that much is across the top layer, and then flood it with water. I mean, usually within 2 days, most plants look better with worm. If you get a good worm, I use Detroit Nutrient worm castings. If you have to buy them here in Michigan, that's the ones I go for if I have to buy them in a bag. But I'm sure there's a million other choices that are decent. If you had a worm source,
worm poop.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. If you had a local one, that would be your best. I mean, oh, you've got one. Nice.
But isn't the biggest problem?
A girl at work hooks me up.
Isn't the biggest problem when people are starting out with organics that they are applying too many things at once? I mean, like
usually
they're applying too many techniques.
Yeah.
Or trying a lot of things, you know. Whereas if you have a mentor like you, or I know another great guy who's good at explaining organics over at the GML 24-hour chat, he's called No-Till, and he has a good way of putting it. And he just told me, like, if you want to read something about that, you must know this, Spartan. There was someone called Elaine
Ingham.
Yeah, that's her.
Soil food.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got a couple good books. I don't know them off the top of my head. I've actually owned one of them, but I don't have it here in front of me. But yeah. So for
Jeff Lonefels puts out a couple of good books, and he talks about Elaine's business in his books.
Yep, Jeff Lonefels, I would say the best one for an organic gardener to read would probably be Teaming with Microbes. And for me, it was easier for me to just understand and follow along get through that book than it was. What was the nutrient one? That one was difficult. And then the fungi, I think, was the other one that he did. He's done 3 of them.
I'm listening to the microbes one now. I'm loving it. I'm missing out on the pictures though, for sure. So I should have bought the book. Yeah. But yeah, the nutrient one is what I have in my basket next. So I'm absorbing
I honestly, I've gotten most of my knowledge of, like, especially Dr. Elaine Ingham. She's done a lot of talks, and you can just get them and listen to her talk and watch her presentations. And, you know, she's got slides, and that's the way that I learn better. If I have a visual and, you know, can listen to him talk, that's what I want. You know what I mean? And then the trifecta would be if I could get some hands-on with these people, that would be absolute best for me to learn. That's just how I learn. But I steered away from the books more so, and well, I didn't steer away from all of them, but I learned more from just watching them do their talks on YouTube. And YouTube's a great resource and a great free resource for most of that stuff.
Yeah, and you can rewatch it multiple times. I mean,
you can slow it down, speed it up. You can do all kinds of stuff.
Does Jeff Lonefels have his own YouTube channel?
I'm not sure if he does or not. I'm not.
I wonder, because I just thought that's probably a good idea. I should start fucking just looking on YouTube.
Well, Jeff Lonefels is more. He's not cannabis specific, right? So he was a gardener in Alaska, I believe, and so his would be, if you follow his media accounts, I'm imagining that it wouldn't be cannabis specific. It would be kind of a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm. That's
but
cool.
we've had him on the show, right? He's on a Cheap Home Grow episode. Maybe one of the older.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We have Jeff. Yeah, we've had Jeff on there. He was talking when he launched his autoflower book, I believe. He came on, right? Because he was talking about his autoflower book. I believe that's why we had him on. Can't remember.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the last. Either I was just left before that show, or that was either one of the last shows I was on. I can't remember if I was.
Cheers, everybody.
That was a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Cheers to chat.
I am completely ignoring chat. I'm sorry, guys.
You ignore it. You're the guest. We'll keep an eye on it for you.
I've seen a lot of icons that I recognize from chats, and I feel like I'm sure there's
your brothers are in here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Skillbo,
yeah.
Skillbo and Abolish Farms.
Skillbo. I saw Abolish Farms in there. Beelzebub.
Oh, Beelzebub.
Supreme Grape.
Yeah. What
else can I shout out? Chicha, females.
Skillbo. She's from Michigan too. Another Michigander. Michigan's showing up strong.
Females, fierce.
Michigan is always showing up strong.
Yeah, Michigan shows up for us all the time. We are so grateful for all the Michigan brothers.
Yeah,
always coming out.
I feel like that Michigan is kind of like the unspoken, or like nobody really talks much about Michigan cannabis other than people in Michigan. But like when you see like national news outlets and things like that, they don't really talk about Michigan when it comes to cannabis. I think we're like the hidden gem. You know what I mean? It's like
the Hobbit country.
I kind of like it. I kind of like it.
I do like that. Yeah,
it's like a hidden. Yeah, it's a hidden secret almost. Because
oh well.
In Canada, you think about like the cannabis trail of like California, Oregon, Washington, even like some of the like Oklahoma. But yeah, Michigan, when I kind of jumped into the cannabis online community, most of my mentors were from Michigan. And this was previous to Instagram. So I got roots out there for a long time. I have much gratitude to Michigan. Way bigger than I ever thought though. Like just like bam, like the cannabis scene is wicked out there. I can't wait to go to an event one day.
I have a roots to Canada too. I have heritage there. Let me see on my grandmother's side. So it'd be on my mother's side. My mother's mom. So my grandmother's, what would have been? So my grandmother's grandmother was French Canadian.
Dang.
She married an Irishman, and they immigrated into the United States, into Michigan. So
not far.
There's my story. Yeah, not very far. They actually
they didn't mind the weather, I guess.
They actually they settled up there. Honeybeard might know about Munising. I'm sure you've heard of that. That's where they settled up there, and then finally we all kind of spread out.
75 minutes away.
That's a lot closer to you than I am.
Yeah. I'm about 50 minutes west of Marquette. About 40 minutes north Iron Mountain, kind of in that area, southwest Marquette.
Well, no wonder you got some snow. Or did you say frost?
Yeah. Me and Casey get the same weather.
Last week it was fun.
I get the snow first, and then I send it right down to him.
Everyone's complaining, oh no, what are we going to do? It's like, it's not even June yet. Why are you putting plants outside up here, people? Come on.
Yeah.
I know. I love that you understand that.
This is the first year in all my years of growing outdoor. Well, except for my first couple years, I guess, of going in the ground before June 1st, because I lost the crop early on to frost.
Oh, yeah.
Late
you
May.
Learn once.
Yep.
I mean, normally we don't mow our grass up here till the 1st of June. And shit, I just got done mowing for the first time, and it was almost waist high already. I could have moved. I've been busy in the basement working on the girls and all that stuff. So it's lots of new testers.
I got to keep mine mowed, man. These ticks this year are ridiculous. If you don't,
ticks.
Yeah, if you get long grass. Ugh.
I have chickens.
We have a dandelions. I have a dandelion harvester.
Did you say you have a dandelion harvester?
I am a dandelion harvester.
I was like, what does a dandelion harvester? I've been doing it all wrong. What does that look like? What is a dandelion harvester?
It's me. I'm on the riding lawnmower harvesting dandelions every 2 days. There's a full thick yellow blanket of new ones every 2 days.
So go down to your local hardware store, and in the lawn and garden section, they're going to have a bag of gypsum. It's going to cost you maybe $5, maybe $10. I don't know, Canadian.
Probably 10, yeah.
But it's going to be a bag that's going to be at least 5 pounds of gypsum, probably 15 pounds or more, and just spread that around your yard. And that's going to help. Yeah, that's going to help loosen your soil. So you've got tight soil. So how I know that is because the dandelions are telling me that. The dandelions have one big long taproot, right? The reason those are so prolific there is because those are the only things that can really survive, and they're mining the nutrients out of that soil with that taproot. And because your soil is tight, that's why those ones with the big thick taproots, like burdock would be another one that'd probably pop up. But if you start putting gypsum in there, which is going to have your calcium and sulfur attached to it, but that calcium is what you're really looking for, and that's going to loosen up the soil a little bit, where the magnesium is too. The magnesium attached with it, but supplying the calcium. See, what Mother Nature is doing is using the dandelions to mine the calcium, and then when the dandelion dies, that calcium is left in the plant leaves up towards the top, and then it can start healing its soil so that it can get better progression down the line. So that calcium gets deposited there that way with the dandelions, but you're removing it with your lawnmower. So when you put your gypsum on there, you're giving the calcium back, and you should start getting better. You should be getting grasses, and then after grasses, maybe some shrubs. So yeah, just supplement. You just find it'll be like garden gypsum is what I would use. Or you could go with lime if you want to do it like a dominant lime, but that adds magnesium too.
Yeah, I'm going to do it around my garden because that's I got 12 acres of dandelions. I'm
12 acres.
To do that all this time.
It's going to be a little bit more expensive.
But where I'm most concerned is around my garden. So
you might need a couple 100 pounds, not 5.
Yeah. Just do your garden and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. I have the most bees of anyone I know, so that's good at least.
Yeah, the dandelion is one of the first food sources for bees in the springtime.
Yeah, those big fatties are all over this place.
That's what I'm smoking on Delato that was given to me from TJ at work that I was talking about earlier. It's his first grow.
TJ! Nice.
Good job on that.
Are you mentoring him? Nice.
Yeah, he's been asking me questions. He's asking all of us, but yes, I'm one of the guys that he's asking questions.
Cool. I love that's a good part of your job too that maybe you didn't mention yet. And I like that about a job is that getting mentorship, but also being able to deliver mentorship. That's important to me.
Yeah, I kind of do that through Instagram. I mean, I get and then I also have been recently giving out my my email address too, because then I realized that not everybody has Instagram that could be listening on a podcast later or watching on YouTube, whatever. So, I've been giving out and I've been communicating through emails too. So it's not the email. It's a little bit slower as far as how quickly I respond to emails, but I can knock those out. I can sit down on a weekend and on a day off and then respond to all my emails, you know what I mean? And get a lot knocked down. Now on my Instagram, I try to respond to everybody. I don't know if I may have missed a person here or there, but I try to respond to everybody that has quick questions. If somebody has a really in-depth question, I'm going to give you my best answer and then tell you where to go for the information. But I'm not going to sit there and there's some things that I'm not going to go through my butter recipe, for example, again. I'm just one of these days I'm going to get off my duff and record myself just talking, and I'm going to have my butter, all the things that annoy me to have to go through having to say the same thing over and over, and tape those and then put them on my YouTube channel, and then be able to link people to them or something, and save myself trouble, because I do get a lot of the same questions when it comes to like edible making the butter. I get that butter question a lot. My biggest tip on butter is wash your weed, guys. Decarb first. That locks in THC. It drops off the. Let me rephrase it. All I did was I Googled is THC soluble in water, and it said that THC was, well, how do you say it? THC was not soluble in water. I think it said it was somewhat, but then I said is delta 9 THC soluble in water, and it said it was somewhat soluble in water. So that means before decarb, you could lose some THC into the water. So don't do your plant wash. It's a pain in the ass, but do your plant wash after you decarb. Decarb it, knocks off that carboxyl group, and it makes it not soluble in water. Then you can soak it in water again and get all the disgusting flavor out. And then you have to redry. Then you have to redry it, and then you can use it in making your butter. But it's a long ass process. But I tell you what, it makes your butter taste a fuck ton better. And if you
unless you like the taste of weed.
Yeah, I'm not even talking weed. It's like the taste of chlorophyll. Like it's just like
like fresh stuff.
Yeah. Have you ever done a bud wash at all? Have you ever soaked?
I've never tried that before.
So what I do is I just fill up a pan, a big deep dish with as much of the trim as I can squeeze into it. And then I fill it with water and then put a lid on it. Yeah, or that's even better.
Got a little trick.
Wow. Yeah. Let's see. I missed that. Let me see that again. I'm looking at the chat. I just seen the tail end of it. Oh, wow. Holy. That's a big bag.
So then you just fill that. So that would even be easier in that bag. You just fill that bag with water so the water's above the level of the weed. Let it sit for 12 hours in a cool, damp place. Dump that water off. Fill it back up again.
After decarboxylating it?
After decarbing it, yes. Sorry. Decarb that product first. Pour all that water in there.
I'm going to try it.
Pour the water in it. Pour that water off after 12 hours, and it's going to be fucking some disgusting, skunky water that you pour off. After you pour that water off, fill it back up with water and do it again. So it's actually a 24-hour soak of water, but you're changing it halfway through. And you're giving it fresh water. That second pour off should be way better. It's going to be a little skunky, but not too bad. And then I just took, my neighbor was throwing out an old screen door. So I took that and made that my dry rack. And so then I just spread it out on that screen from a screen door to dry it. And I have a dehumidifier sitting next to it. So it takes 3 to 4 days, maybe 5 days sometimes to get it completely dry. And then you can use that to make your butter with your normal butter process, whatever you're using. But it should improve the flavor like a lot.
Wow. Look, you said you were going to talk about it again, and we got you on film.
Yeah, but then I hit my bong, and it got me. Yeah, I like to put it out there when I'm being recorded.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Now you just like copy this link and you send it to the person and be like, find it. I will even find where it's at in the. I can't tell right now, but I could tell you after.
Maybe you can fit it in your highlights, your Instagram highlights.
Yeah. There's so much potential.
Oh, that's so much work I would have to do.
Rinse when you're making your RSO then?
No.
Oh, RSO.
No, so my RSO process, I don't. Because my ethanol, because the ethanol is so, I don't know, how do you call it?
You get 190 proof down there or no?
190 proof is what I use.
You can get 190 down there? I wasn't sure.
No, you can't get it here, but
Is it Everclear?
Yes, 190 proof Everclear. You can't get it in Michigan.
I have to go to Wisconsin.
Oh, you can? I thought you could for sure get it in the States. Is it just Michigan?
Yeah, just Michigan. You can get 153 proof. You can't get 190 proof, or maybe it's 151.
In Canada, we have like a really.
I think it's over 140, isn't it?
Cheap 190 version of Everclear.
151, I think, is as high as it goes in the bar.
Interesting.
I've never seen 151 up here, but I don't drink anymore, so who would know anymore?
Yeah.
The only reason
But to answer your question, no, I don't. Yeah, and that's why I love that machine I use, that ETO, ETOH, the ETO, because it reclaims a lot of the alcohol back for me, so it saves me a lot of fucking money. So
if you remember, can you give me the link to that machine?
Yeah, it's expensive. It's made by Extract Craft.
What does it do? I don't know this ETO.
So the Extract Craft ETO, what it is a it's just a cauldron that will heat up. It's got a lid on it and some tubes coming off of it and some collection jars. And what it'll do is it'll take the process of you heating up the tincture. So I'm just going to go through the RSO process. So RSO process.
Sure, then you can link this video for that too.
I keep everything cold. So I freeze the alcohol. The alcohol is always in the freezer and the trim is always in the freezer.
Mm.
So they have to be frozen for at least 24 hours. This is my process. So I say that 24 hours frozen at least, both of those things, before they can be combined. And then they're combined in the freezer. So everything's cold, stays cold. And that's me doing that. That step is what stops me from having to wash the material, to answer your earlier question, Casey, because the reason I'm making things cold is the fats, lipids, and chlorophyll all are slowed down in the cold. So I'm not saying that I can completely stop them, but I can slow them down and not pull as much of those. But everything else, because ethanol or grain alcohol that I'm using is so, I don't know if you want to say caustic. It's such a good solvent that it'll pull everything. I mean, and so that's why I'm using the cold. The cold is just slowing down the undesirables. And then, so I just combine them all in a bag, just kind of like what you were showing earlier, and in the freezer. And then I do long soaks because I'm looking for a full spectrum oil. I'm looking for to pull as much as I want to. But if you're looking for a really
24 hours.
Yeah, 24 hours is what I like to do. Yep, for me. So I like to do at least 24. Sometimes I do 48. People wanting to make clean extracts, like something that they would like try to even dab. You can do that with this process. And that's really fast washes. So they make that combination, and usually in even colder situations, like they'll try with dry ice in a cooler or something, or better freezers than what I'm using. But if you do it really super cold, you can lock out all of those fats and lipids and chlorophyll, and you can preserve the color, and this stuff will come out like, looks like gold, like the color of gold, or a little bit lighter than gold, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so you would just pour it off after you boil off the alcohol, and what you have left is like almost like a shatter-like consistency. It looked like there's just different ways, but you have to have a vacuum chamber to do it. I don't have that. So I combine the alcohol with the trim. I let it sit in there for 24 hours at least. During that 24 hours period, I try to get in there a couple times to just jostle the bag around to make sure that all the surface is getting contacted. And then I strain off after the 24 hours. I pull it out and strain off the plant material, and then you're left with a tincture. That tincture you put into the ETO machine, and it boils off the tincture, and you're left with the RSO. At the same time, it collects all of the alcohol that it boils off into a side mason jar. So it'll hold up to the jar that they gave me was a half gallon. Now, if I found a jar that was bigger than a half gallon that cap would fit on, I could do whatever, run it bigger. The vessel itself, the crucible, I guess I'll call it, that holds the tincture at the beginning will hold a little over a gallon. So the capacity of the machine, you could run a gallon of fucking tincture through that thing in one run. And that generally gets me.
But the reclamation vessel won't hold it that much, though.
The reclaim holds a half gallon, but as it's running, you can just watch it. As it starts getting close to getting full, you could always go over and hit the button to pause it, open up that reclaim vessel, empty it out, and do that if you wanted to. I haven't done that. I usually just run the half gallon just because I'll set it and then walk away and not even babysit it, because I let it run, and then I come back and get it, get it all out when it's done. And then I finish it too. Like it has a temperature setting. Like you can set it at different temperatures, so you can have it boil off less of the alcohol. Like if you were looking for different consistency, so you can play with that. But I generally, out of a half gallon of tincture, when I boil off a half gallon of tincture, I generally get around anywhere from 10, obviously depending on what I'm doing. But I'm talking trim, anywhere from 10 to 15 grams usually is an average, I would say, of RSO.
Week and a half to 2 weeks for you.
But I mean, that's a gallon freezer bag full of trim. So like
so about 150, 200 grams you can usually fit in there.
Yeah. So something like that. And then and that usually gives me about a half a gallon of tincture when I do that. And I usually
I'm very interested in that machine. I have a patient up here in the UP that I assisted her in getting off opioids. She was on opioids for over 35 years or 30 years, not 35, sorry, 30 years. And she no longer takes opioids and just takes my RSO. So anyway, to save some time on my end instead of doing it the old school way. And
yeah, dude, this is a life changer for you then. Yeah, you'll like it. And it'll save you money on alcohol.
It goes through a bit, so she probably pops too close to 2 grams a day.
Wow, that's
unfortunate.
Awesome. Holy cow.
It is, but hey, she takes no opioids whatsoever, and she was addicted to them pretty much, and it was prescribed by her doctors, and she said enough killing my body. So bravo to her.
Well, the website, I just looked, the website's just extractcraft.com. No spaces or anything.
I'm wearing an Extract Depot shirt today, so I just got this shirt for free. I'm not sponsoring them at all.
They just dropped the link in chat for everybody. But that's their webpage. They have 2 machines, okay? They have a small machine called the Source Turbo, I believe. And then they have that big machine called the Ito. The small machine, I would really recommend not getting it. Not that it's bad, but if for what you're talking about, like you're trying to keep a patient supplied, you're going to be running laps, keeping that stupid little one going. It literally did like a cup at a time, like a very little tiny amount. So don't even bother with that. I wouldn't even recommend that small one to you.
Thank you. No, anything to make, you know how it is when you're a caregiver. It's
dude.
A lot of work. And
I had the small one. I actually gifted that to somebody, but I had the small one and I was making all my RSO with that. And that's when my uncle was laid up with cancer, pancreatic cancer. And this is no joke. When I got the Ito, I just waited for a tax return to come back and I paid for it with a tax return. But what I ran in the first run of my Ito would normally take me to do the same amount of product that I ran the first run in the old machine would have took me like close to a month, like 3 weeks. So just that, I was sold on the first time I ran it. I was like, yeah, 100% am I gonna. I mean, if you're looking at buying either one, get the big one if you're gonna be running any kind of volume. It just.
I usually go through 3 or 4 cases of alcohol twice a year for.
Yeah.
So
dude, it'll pay for itself then. For sure it'll pay for itself.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a lot of freaking work.
Yeah. Holy cow.
And I obviously try and take some myself.
So I just noticed a question in chat. Ziggy's Garden asked me if the Reclaim picks up terps. I wouldn't know would be my answer originally, but I did when I ran. Okay, so normally I just run plant material. Normally it's just trim. Sometimes I'll run some nug runs, but my buddy Dank Van Dan, he presses a lot. He presses hash, so he does the bubble, puts it in the bags, and he presses that out. Well, those rosin pucks, he saved them, and he brought them to me because I told him, I said, save me those rosin pucks. I want to run them. And fun fact, those things dump Oh my God, I got so much. I got ridiculous returns off of those. Just insane, like 3 times what I normally get off of these rosin pucks. And
Really?
but when I pulled the reclaim off of those, it did smell like those rosin pucks. I did have that smell from those rosin pucks. So it did pick up one of the terps off of the hash rosin pucks, but I haven't had it pick up any of the terps. At least I haven't like sipped it to taste it, but smell test, I haven't seen it pick up any terps on anything plant material wise. But once I did that hash run, 100%, I smelled that hash in that fucking reclaim for sure. I did.
That's funny you talk about that. I have a buddy who made a bunch of wine 2 years ago, 3 years ago now. We were just talking about it the other night, and he's scared to try it and crack it open. We're trying to figure out who's going to be the first one to take a sip. So who would know?
Yeah.
My wife volunteered, but it's I don't know if I want to be part of that if she volunteers.
I don't like being the guinea pig. I'll tell you that. I'm not a fan of being a guinea pig. I will do that for edibles though.
I used to be the guinea pig, but I'm too old for that shit now. I used to have no problem. Oh, hey, you want me to try something? Okay, yeah, let's try it. What it is.
Are you guys doing any outdoor this year at all?
If I only could do outdoor up here, the only thing I could do is autos.
Yeah,
it's not worth it. I mean,
Not
I
worth
get 15, 20 hours of sunlight in the summer, but still, it is not worth it. The yields you get off it up here, I haven't found anything. Yeah, you get people, I grow in my hoop house, I grow in my greenhouse, all that stuff up here, but I've yet to see anyone.
Well, yeah, that would help though. I mean, yeah, that for sure, because that would, you think, would extend the season a little bit. You probably gain maybe
A
5,
little
10
bit,
degrees.
but our temperatures swing so much at night. They don't realize it, but they're growing fungi.
Well, maybe you could just do an auto in a pot and throw it out in the backyard on your back porch or something.
I've thought
Take
about
advantage
it.
of the sun that way, at least.
I've got the 72 downstairs that we take care of because both the wife and I are both caregivers. So we have a full plate when it comes to that.
Oh, that would be more than enough work, believe me. Oh my God, I totally understand.
And I'm a pheno hunting junkie, so I'm constantly popping new seeds.
What do you got? What do you got right now? What do you got going on right now that you're most excited about? Like, what's your prized possessions that are they ones that you pheno hunted yourself, or
everything I have right now, I have pheno hunted myself. I do not have anything that is anyone else's.
Wow, that's awesome.
Everything I pheno hunted. I just pulled this dire wolf by Magic Beans for the first time. And you can smell it through a sealed jar.
Oh, really? What does it smell like?
Sorry about the brutalness of this, but it smells like you fingered a skunk that was dipped in a bucket of diesel fuel.
Oh, damn. That's a good smell to be fucking having.
If you didn't hear my wife, she just said, really, he's sitting next to me. like you got your fingers right up that canal where it shoots out of. It's potent. Tonight I'm smoking my Pure Michigan from Third Coast. I absolutely love that strain. I'm trimming my Mac Stomper that somehow I found the candy pheno with the Mac, the candy pheno of the Stomper mixed with the Mac, and it's phenomenal.
I love the Mac, and I love a lot of the Mac crosses.
Everything. I have had a lot of bad luck. I will be honest with you. I've ran quite a few cap seeds, and I'm at 2 keepers out of 4 or 5 packs.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be the one to say it, but really, that's the only thing that's interested me from cap is Mac.
Yeah,
Mac 1 specifically.
And everything else has just been really stretchy and really. Oh, I'm trying to think of the politically correct word to use here. Not right. One of those that you throw out in veg. I've had a lot of those, you know, and I do that a lot. I have no problem throwing a plant out in veg. It's goodbye. If you're not growing the way I want you to grow, if you're not what I'm looking for right off the bat, see ya. You're too stretchy for the rest of my plant. See ya.
Yeah.
And of course, obviously, I'm a huge fan of Luke's work with Water Genetics. I have an amazing Thousand Oaks and an amazing Fire Creek OG that is almost like smoking crack. It's just it gets you so lit you just can't stop smoking it. It's nice. Fun. I smoke a lot of weed a day. And it gets me lit from the first bowl to the end bowl of the day. So it's a good one.
That's nice.
But I said, I want
like Vortex for me was that strain. Like I said Vortex was that strain for me when I smoked Vortex. Like I could be.
I remember Vortex from school. Yep.
Yeah, it's like for me a lot of times with most strains, not all.
I just harvested some Jelly Bean and I'm not going to run it again. It's Jelly Bean, there's no doubt about it, but it's not what I'm looking for in a plant. It's extremely stretchy and doesn't produce to make itself worthwhile to stay in the garden. So
see, I've never run that one. I've heard of it. I've smoked some of it, but I'm not a big fan of orange. I haven't had a lot of orange.
No. It's not
you didn't have an orangey one?
It's more that funk. How do I explain that funk? You know, the Jack funk kind of that.
Jack the Ripper?
No, Jack Hare.
Or Jack Hare. Okay.
So, yeah, that funk. Almost lemony. It's kind of got that funk a little bit. Oh yeah, I can't forget that strain. I have an amazing Jack cross fight with GG4. That was an unreleased from Ethos. That is.
Oh wow.
That's my sativa pick of the day. I have some keepers. I'll send you my list. I don't want to tell everyone what I have.
Yeah. That's cool.
I have some amazing keepers and I'm doing some amazing pheno runs. I mean, I have this apple tarts I threw out because it pollinated and it's probably close to 30% weed, but it hermited my environment. People don't understand that about seeds. You know, people may grow good things, but you throw it at different latitudes and longitudes from where it was bred at. And sometimes they do not like it.
For sure. And I think there's a lot to be said, like how it was like, was it bred under LED lights or was it bred outside? Was it bred under HPS? We were finding more like science is catching up, you know what I mean? Science is catching up to explain shit for us, but like the things like viruses can be passed on through the seed. Like my God. So yeah, 100%. You have to know your breeder and don't. I think it's a common misconception from somebody outside looking in. They say a strain name on a seed pack and like, oh, that's it. It's guaranteed. It says it right there on the pack. That's it. Well, that's not how it is here. Sorry, guys.
we were at the last Seed Junkies down there on the west side, and my buddy's, oh yeah, I got this and this and this, and he's calling it, you know, the hype strains there, and I'm like, no, it's this crossed with this, and it's an F1 generation, so you're gonna get 100 different variations out of that. You're gonna be lucky if you find what you're looking for out of 10 seeds, because if you're lucky, 5 of them might be female, which I'm sorry, I have never ever ran 50-50 on cracking seeds. Lifetime, I'm probably 60-40. I guarantee I crack 500 seeds a year.
Yeah, man. But you know what? There's always a soft spot in my heart for a seed run. I love fucking seed runs, man. I love it. I wish I could get that. I wish I could get that from a clone. You know what I mean?
Oh, I could not agree more. It's always different than the next generations. It is, but we wouldn't have what we have if we didn't keep them. You wouldn't have your Spartan glue.
Damn good point.
If we didn't keep them, you know, it's
yeah, yep, for sure. But I don't know. I often. So I've heard stories before. I'll just say that. I've heard stories of mysterious people that used to grow outside every single year. And they would have a small, what they call breeding garden off to the side, where they would make their seeds for the following year, every year from their selections from that year that did well that year. God, that sounds so amazing to me. To be able to plant seeds every year from your selection from the year before. You get the whole winter time to sit there thinking, oh, you know, which ones of these am I going to plant?
You're just inputting backwards and, you know, making more and more generational crosses, you know, going back or further and further into the, and picking exactly what you want in those phenos. I mean, that's ideally perfect.
Yeah, actually, yeah, because
as a seed junkie, that's ideally perfect. You're eliminating what you don't want in each one and keeping what you want each year. And if you're able to do that and keep progressing and progressing that line.
Yeah. And ideally, I mean, not ideally, it is ideal. You're doing the ideal breeding right on site. So everything is making these genetic selections for you, for your area.
Yep.
You know, everything is like autopilot for you. It just seems like the best way to do it. And that's the way it used to be done. And that used to be always the way it was. And like, if you had something really great, that's why there was stories about the great weed from 89, you know, same, almost like they're talking about wine, because they didn't keep it. They just grew it like a regular seasonal plant, like we do all seasonal plants. You know what I mean? They didn't clone them and leave them alive forever, all winter long.
And so, that's, you know, it's like, yeah, we're all looking for skunk, but it's like, what's going to happen if someone finds it?
Yeah.
To where we're at now, you know, I mean, yeah, 20 years ago, shit, that stuff was like crack, but, or 25 years ago, I guess. But now it's like, what is it really like?
But remember this, 25 years ago, it was like crack to people with tolerances of people 25 years ago. What would it do with people of today's tolerance levels? Would it still hit them the same? Maybe not.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. It's, you know, is it one of those where it's, you know, it doesn't matter about the THC percentage, it's all about the terpenes. I mean, like I was talking about that dire wolf earlier, I guarantee that it doesn't test that high, but it gets you freaking ripped.
Right.
And there's
those. I smoked some extremely terrible weed as far as taste goes, but it still absolutely floored me.
There's like, a dire wolf in a jar, but it's nothing special to look at, but it's, fuck, does it stink?
That's good. That's a good sign.
It's fun like that. It is fun. And
I smoked some weed one time that was hanging in my garage because that's where I hung my outdoor plants. I had a whole plant hang in my garage. And we went from the following year or the next year. So we went to hang the next seasons, and there was a branch still hanging that I'd forgotten completely of from the previous year. And it was all brown and looked like fall. You know, it's been a year old and it's not a temperature controlled garage. So it was in the summer heat and then in the winter freezing and all that. But of course we hung up the plant and we both looked at each other and we're like, we're smoking that, right? And we're like, yeah, we are. So we rolled it up, and I kid you not, it tasted like what I would imagine if you took like a pile of leaves off of a tree, you know, like it smelled like fall leaves, like when you jumped in the leaves as a kid. That's what it smelled like, that fucking. And that's what it tasted like too. Exactly like that. It tasted terrible. But I tell you what, it was nothing but couch lock. It was nothing but, it made you so sleepy tired.
So we're all old enough. We all started smoking swag when we started smoking your reggies or whatever the hell you want to call them. What was the first named weed you ever smoked? Do you remember? I don't know. I'm asking a lot, but
yeah, I don't know. I don't think I can.
And it was just, you know, everyone kept it in their jars for the first time, and it was just pristine.
I grew weed before I ever smoked it. So yeah, I grew weed before I smoked it, but I couldn't get high, man. It took me probably 6 or 8 times of trying before I could actually get high. And so I was hitting all kinds of things. Like people, it was progressively like it was a challenge for people to try to get me high. So it was like, I don't know, carts and fucking dabs and fucking I was just like, oh, try this strain, try that strain, you know, and nothing would get me high. But what finally was like the turning point was I was a caregiver and I was growing for patients, but I wasn't smoking because it was pointless. It didn't seem like it did anything for me. And so I was making edibles. That's what it was. I was trying to figure out edibles early on. And I was like, well, fuck it. I'll just try this. And to try to gauge the strength of it a little bit or whatever. So I made an edible in a mini loaf. They're like mini loaf containers, but I made brownies in mini loaf. And I ate the whole freaking loaf, the mini loaf. Just because it was so good. Like I get halfway through and it was hot out of the oven and you're not thinking it's just really good. And yeah, I ate the whole thing. And then I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh, man, how much was that? And needless to say, it was over 1,000. It was like 1,000 something milligrams that I just had eaten. And I was like, well, no big deal. This stuff doesn't ever hit me anyway. I don't care. So a couple hours go by and it hit me and I felt it. And boy, did it hit me. And that was the first time I ever felt high. And that was the highest I've ever been in my entire life. I have never been higher than that. I was so high that I was like hallucinating, like for real. Like I had laid down in the bed because I just didn't feel that great. And so I'm laying there and the room's, you know, I get in the room spinning. So I had to turn the light on. If I turned the light on and opened my eyes and focused on something, the room would at least stop spinning. So that was cool. So I got that to go away. But then, I mean, I must have fallen asleep. I don't know how else to describe the next part of this, but so in my mind's eye, I saw, or whatever, I dreamt or whatever, but I just, for some reason, just felt what I just knew to be my consciousness shatter into like 1,000 pieces. And I was so panicked about it that I was grabbing at like these shards that were floating away from me and putting back like together like a piece like this. I don't know what, like it was like a broken mirror. And I'm trying to put the shit back together and pull all these shards back together. And I don't have any like arms or anything that is doing it. My mind is just like willing it to happen, but I'm feeling like my body's doing it. So whatever that means, that was my experience. But after what seemed like forever, I felt like that I had completed whatever that task was. And I woke up and I was super, super parched, like super dry mouth. Like I couldn't even move my tongue felt like it filled my whole mouth. It was so dry. And so I looked over on the counter of next to my bed and there was a water bottle sitting there. And it took like all of the will I had to will my arm to move a few inches to go grab that water bottle. But as soon as I like touched the water bottle, like I was able to move again and it was normal and I could drink and I saved myself. But I was so scared for that 30 seconds to try to get to that water bottle that I was going to like suffocate or whatever. Like my tongue was going to fucking make me suffocate because I couldn't get to the water. But yeah, it was a weird experience, but not one I'd really like to repeat.
How many years is that ago? When did you start growing?
It's cool you remember that.
Maybe 6 years ago from now. What are we at, 2020? 7 years? 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah, I was thinking if you said cards, then I said that's a recent thing. Like
the dabs got me on recent, so
yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, the dabs that we were doing were like, I don't know, it was like it wasn't shatter, but it started out as shatter and they put something in it to melt it down and then they were putting them in. I don't even know. I didn't even know much about any of that stuff because all I knew was burning fucking, like I had to grow weed and give it to my patients and that's all I knew. You know what I mean?
It's like me, you know, we first started blasting back in Montana like 15 years ago making honey oil and we weren't quite
honey oil, yeah.
Oh yeah. And holy shit, that stuff you'd smoke too much, you'd be coughing up yellow shit out of your lungs because we weren't charging it enough.
We used to do it on hot knives on the stove in like big 2-liter bottles, like Like, and we would get our honey oil in little beer bottle caps. And I was from Saskatchewan, so it was Pilsner beer bottle caps. You're not Canadian, so it was like extra level. And that was weed. Like, I didn't even know about herb weed until like in my 20s. And when I was a teenager, that was weed. Like, you went and bought your weed in a little bottle cap and you smoked it off the stove. And then you fainted after, basically. A 15-year-old girl, like, whew.
We had this party room in my barn we built, and we used to do bong rips, and we'd think we were smart, and we'd do handstands up against the wall and do bong rips. It was a good thing we built plywood walls on the walls.
I need a photo of you doing a handstand.
Oh, hell no, that ain't happening no more, dear. But that was the first time I ever smoked with my dad. He came in drunk. We were 17 or 18, and the bong was sitting on the table, and he sat there for a minute. He's like, well, is someone going to fucking load that or what?
That's awesome. Yeah, fun fact, I'm my supplier to both my parents. So
my father passed away 4 years ago, and that's what's been my push to commercialize more and be more in the commercial game. You know, that's what got me with my former employer that I was with there for a while, and now looking for new work. So that's what, when he passed away, it was a shock, and I needed something to get me out of the funk. And I said, you know what, this is what I'm going to focus my life on. And you won't find anyone much more educated in the laws than me. I mean, yeah, I mean, maybe a little out of date on a couple of them, but I mean, I helped our township up here write their ordinances. I've been an active part in this, so it means a lot to me, you know, doing it in his memory. So
yeah, and it's something that's constantly under fire here in Michigan too, especially. So you got to be,
us caregivers we got to be looking forward and what's next. You know, they're coming after us, unfortunately, and I hate to say it, but one day they're going to win. They have more money. They're going to get the lobbyists. They're going to pay enough people, and one day they probably will win. Hopefully, it's not for quite a while.
Well, I will say that it's not all doom and gloom. So let me share this little story with you. So
it is not all doom and gloom. No. I will not say that.
Right. Like, I don't think I do believe that what you just said is most likely the outcome, but at the same time, I still see light at the end of the tunnel where that's not the only possibility. It's not like set in stone yet.
No, hopefully we can get it where us caregivers can, if they want us to track our stuff in metric, allow us to have our 72 plants still, but, allow us to input it and sell it back to the dispensaries again.
Well, exactly. Well, that would be my point there, is like, if it was ever, before we put the cart in front of the horse, let's talk to everybody what we're talking about here. So in Michigan, there's a lobby group called the MCMA, which stands for the Michigan Cannabis Manufacturers Association. And 2 weeks ago, that lobby had six members, which are 6 of the largest cannabis producers in the state of Michigan. Okay. Those members are basically just those people are paying this lobby group to affect change, to affect the laws. We have activists here in Michigan that helped to, Rick Thompson, for example, who helped to draft the language in the law, and Jamie Lowell, who's a lawyer, who helped draft the law. Matt Abel, yep. A lot of these guys in the whole cannabis community, we'll just say the whole cannabis community, there's some watchdogs out here watching things and keeping their ears out for things that are going on. And so the cannabis community caught wind of that. This lobby group was circulating papers to lawmakers and having meetings with the MRA. The MRA is the licensing group here in Michigan that controls all the medical laws, or all the cannabis laws. And on this paper that Jamie Lowell circulated, it had some crazy reductions to caregiver rights. Why this is a weird thing in Michigan is Michigan's got several different, I like to call it lanes here in Michigan. So you have the medical lane, which is the caregiver lane. So the caregivers supply the patients with their cannabis. It's done between the caregiver and the patient. State's not really involved. Then there is the commercial lane. The commercial lane has two lanes. It's medical and adult use. That is completely different. It's grown commercially. It's tested. There's a whole bunch of 1,000 rules that we could sit here and talk and discuss for hours on. But it's a completely commercial. What you'd expect when I say commercial, it's a commercial operation, not a home operation or anything like that. They have separate laws governing them, separate whole complete acts governing them. The Caregiver Act came in 2008, and then the commercial stuff came in way later. Like, what was it? 2000
years ago?
Yeah, a couple years ago. Yeah.
3 years ago.
The nefarious part of this whole thing is, or the bad acting. I'm not against corporate cannabis as far as I'm fine if they wants to be a corporate cannabis and grow a bunch of weed for people. That's fine. I don't care. That's what I have a problem with is these people coming together to affect change in the caregiver market, which they don't even participate in. It boggles my mind, like so much so that I pulled some strings to get on a show. Because
why are they making it their business? Yeah.
They're trying to take it over, thinking they can take that
because it's money, it's competition. They just like they don't want the caregivers.
Okay, this is my opinion, but I mean, I don't know, it's fact if you ask me, but this is my opinion. If you look at it, try to look at it objectively and just look at it, it's pretty obvious that they're just saying they're coming up with an excuse to alter the caregiver market because that's really what they want to do from the get-go because that's their competition. The real competition is that they can't even compete with the caregivers because the caregivers aren't regulated like they are. So they want to get rid of them. They just want to get rid of them.
Yeah, they can't keep up with the quality.
Exactly. You can't keep up with the quality of the caregivers. It's impossible
I get it.
to do that. So if you eliminate, if you have somebody that's
sorry, I was going to say, a lot of these big companies now keep a name and not produce the quality of product like you guys are at Mitten Cannaco. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have experience. They don't have the culture to do it.
The culture, the team.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
It's rare. It's so rare.
So think of it like this, and Rick Thompson and Medical Mondays put it greatly at this point, and I hadn't even considered it up until then. But he said, if you're a producer of cannabis in Michigan, and generally speaking, Michigan's outlook on cannabis is that the caregiver market has the best weed, which is, I think most Michiganders would agree with you. If the very best weed in Michigan is being grown by caregivers, you can find it there because it's going to be fresh. It's not going to be old, blah, blah, blah. Not saying there's not good weed at the commercial. I grow commercial weed. But so if you're an operator in Michigan and you know the best weed is going to be the caregiver weed and you're a commercial operation and you can't produce good weed like that and your weed is fucking mids, I hate to say it, but that's what it is at best, then instead of investing instead of admitting that you don't make the best weed in the fucking state and not being conceited about it and looking at yourself and making improvements to your own operations to get that high quality weed, they would rather do the easy thing and throw money at lobbyists and politicians to affect law to just eliminate that competition so they can't even produce their weed anymore. And then now you have the high quality weed again because the high quality weed can't be produced anymore.
It's not even that. They're just trying to get a market share because they're not getting a market share because their shit doesn't sell. It sits on the fucking shelves forever.
So out here, though, we like the big factories buy the micro stuff. So they buy other people. We call it like business to business. So you go out and you buy the other person's better weed, manufacture it at your place, and then sell it. Do they not do that?
They do that.
There's some white labeling going on.
There is a for sure. There's a wholesale market where that can be done for sure.
I
Seems
know
like a
who
better-
does that.
But good weed doesn't go to wholesale market.
No.
That's the
Good
problem.
weed goes to 2 or 3 dispensaries,
Good.
never gets
Yeah.
anywhere near the bridge, doesn't get north of Bay City. And
For example, our weed, we don't deal with any middleman. We deal with
Yeah.
the fucking people selling it, and they're calling us. They're like, "Hey, we want some of your," like, "Well, no, so and so's getting it." Well, what are they paying? It's kind of one of those conversations. It's not like, I mean, yeah, there's times like in the fall, when outdoors are all down and that's a huge glut into the system. Yeah, prices go down and we have to shop around a little bit. But normally, I mean, within a day after a harvest, everything's sold.
if you're producing good quality weed, it's gone in this market. There's enough
Especially
connoisseurs
flower.
in the state that, especially flower. It's concentrates are getting flooded. You go to a dispensary and you've got your choice, but no one's really dipping into the live rosin yet, which is pissing me off. At least it's not making it up north here yet. I want it to.
There's a reason for that. It's called remediation, bro. So this is the behind the scenes bullshit of how this works. This is why you concentrates. I don't even want to talk shit.
Yeah, everything that's going to concentrates.
That's why concentrates will always be that way, because that's how you remediate product. If you ever fail test, the distillation process, you send it to concentrate. Yeah, you're not going to concentrate it into you're not going to do it with rosin, but it's going to be BHO. It's going to be distillation, and so there's always a huge amount of product in the concentrate market and in the edible market, because all the distillates and stuff, or the really bad looking concentrate, that all goes into edibles. So that's kind of like your tiers. It's like flowers at the top, then concentrates, which is weird. You think it would be concentrates, and then
you can refine concentrates. Like you said, you can refine concentrates so much that, and you can filter out what you want to make it pass. So it's the truth is, what, 60% of the crop in the state still fails testing.
That's what they're saying. Is like there's some high number. I find it hard to believe that it's as high as what everybody keeps saying. Maybe, but if it's that high, how can you stay in operation? I don't understand how you can.
Because they're passing 50%. They're passing 1 out of every 2, and they're barely floating. I talked with a company last week. They're like, "Oh, we really want to hire you, but we can't afford you." And it's like, well, then I'm obviously not coming to work for you, because you're not going to be able to change the protocols that need to be changed.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
It's people don't realize the biggest thing I'd have to say about the regulated market to help your products pass is cleaning, keeping everything clean. You're cleaning your water lines daily, you're cleaning your tables, so nothing can grow, because they test so stringently. And that's why the medical market is going away, because it is such a stringent test.
Well, it's that, and it's costly. You can, right now, the demand is higher, obviously, because there's more people in the adult use market than the medical market. So there's a higher demand on the adult use side. So there's a disadvantage there. The only advantage on the medical side is for the customer, where they get to pay less tax.
Yeah.
It's the same weed.
16% tax in Michigan for the recreational side. So, I went down I didn't go to my former employer, but I drove by a couple times this last weekend, and I guarantee in that 3-day weekend, they did $250,000 in sales. Just watching the traffic going through, he's been bragging since I left. They've done $20 million in sales since I left. And it's just like, it's the market's there. That's
the market,
especially on the border.
Exactly. That's because I was just going to ask you, how many of those people were from Michigan though? Probably 10%, maybe.
Most people know how many people he's flocked over from Michigan and won't go there. So everyone's from Wisconsin. And it's sad. It's, I wasn't the first, I found out, and I wasn't the last.
Yeah, and you're not the only story, and he's not the only guy doing it. You know what I mean?
He's not
I've heard that same story from different guys.
Yep.
You know what I mean, around me.
Oh yeah, it's terrible, and there are some real trolls in this industry, and I should have taken the clues in the beginning. He was hosting parties for Jack Bergman. His neighbor was the director of Lara.
Wow.
So his box was next to, I'm not going to go into that, but that's I don't need to get.
It's shady as hell, man. I know.
It's shady, and it's hard finding good companies in this industry. It really is. And once you find one like you guys, I mean, I'm happy for you that you have such an amazing place to work, and that's great. So I wanted to ask you in the beginning and didn't get to it. What is the biggest thing you brought from that to your home grow that has benefited your home grow?
I would say that. Say what was that last part? I didn't hear the last thing you said.
Factory to home. What is the best? What is pointed out that?
Yeah, I mean,
what has improved your home grow the most? I know they're completely two different separate types of growing, obviously, but still, it's
still plants, right? Yeah, and honestly, that is my answer. Is it's plant training and specifically the leaf strip and flower. And I still don't leaf strip at home like we do at work in flower, but I leaf strip way more than I used to.
Okay.
And I picked that up from watching the plants respond at work. And so I'm kind of not saying a whole lot, but saying a whole lot at the same time. But so
your training you're talking about. Right?
I'm talking about leaf stripping. So I'm talking about removing leaves off of my plant in flower.
Leaf. That's what you were saying. I thought you were saying leaf. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Leaf. Yeah, leaf. Yeah. And so I don't believe that. So a lot of people will say you'll have two people. You'll have more than two, but the generally speaking,
don't touch them, strip them off.
Yeah, either all of them or none of them. It's usually the camp. And I'm right in the middle now. But I have a caveat, you know what I mean? It depends. So what I found in my little experiments, or whatever you want to call them, is how you're feeding your plants matters a lot for leaf strip. Matters a shit ton, because besides being your fucking solar panels that you're going to hear all the time, your leaves also store your nutrients, right? That's how we can see a nutrient deficiency in a leaf, because when it's gone, you can physically see the difference.
Yeah, I also read that. I read that several places where they say that, they have to, like advanced custom hydronutrients, they have to adjust their formula whenever someone leaf strips.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So for me, where the danger of the leaf strip is stress. Everybody says you're going to stress the shit out of your plant. I'm not super concerned with stress if it could be, because we use stress to direct the plant, to make the changes that we're looking in the plant. So I'm okay with stress if it's a controlled stress that I play with, make sure I don't get a negative result. How I get the negative result is if I do this leaf strip in an organic situation, organic feed situation, and how my mind wraps around this is that why I don't see this in a synthetic feed situation is that because I'm feeding instantly available nutrients to that plant the very next day, and the day after, and the day after, and the day after. So it's always getting the nutrition, whether it's stored or not. Those nutrition stores in the plant for those leaves aren't really needed in a synthetic setting, because I'm giving that plant that nutrition the very next day, and the very next day, and the very next day. So that nutrition will be available to it. But if I do that in an organic situation, I cannot, at least the way that I feed my plants organically, I cannot feed those plants all of the nutrients that they need every single day. I'm just giving them water, and I'm hoping the nutrients that they need are available to them. And that's generally not the case. Yeah.
They're referring that available zone that day. And
yeah.
So after the worm crawled through.
Yeah. So in an organic situation, I'm still doing some selective leaf stripping to get the changes I want in the plant and to shape it the way that I want it. Specifically by leaving the fan leaf, but removing a node, for example. that's one of the things that I've picked up. Like, so when you do a lollipop, you could lollipop your normal amount, but maybe go 1, 2, 3 nodes above your lollipop and take the nodes, but leave the fan leaves. So you still have the fan leaves to collect the light that you want and all that, but you're removing the nodes and you're directing the energy up towards the nodes above it. And those nodes that you have above it are going to get bigger. So you're removing, it's almost the same idea as a lollipop. You're removing the stuff in the bottom that's going to be smaller to try to add it to the tops. It's going to be a net loss in yield a little bit, but at home, I ain't trying to fucking trim the little small bullshit buds. If I can get all A and B buds, then that's good. Then that's what I'm trying to do. So those are the two techniques: the lollipopping and then just removing nodes, but leaving an organic setting, leaving those fan leaves that hold a lot of that nutrition in energy stores, but you can still remove those fucking little nodes. So one thing you can do, a little game I like to play, is on flip. My magic number that I've come across for my situation is 3. I can go as little as only having 3 nodes per branch from the top down. And I have a fucking perfect by the time it grows out, because it adds nodes as it grows up and stretches.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes the third node can even become like
I was gonna say
a lesser prioritized node.
Yep. So like you can play with a plant like that and remove leaves and remove nodes to affect change in your plant to kind of shape it the way you want, which I never really looked at it that way. I was like, oh, I'm just making airflow, or I'm opening up light for the plant, or whatever. But it was cool at work when I had it explained to me and I had it shown to me of the trick to where, especially that trick where you can just remove a node. I was like, what? Just remove a node, but leave the fan leaf? Like, yeah, this fan leaf is fine. It's not blocking anything. Why take it off? You can just pop off that node and we still get the same effect without losing the fan leaf.
Yeah, I think of it as like water pressure. You're taking off a branch where the pressure can go, so you get a much stronger branch. And you can do that through veg also.
Like a real like a real easy rule of thumb is like
I'm supposed to strip next week. I'm gonna try it.
I don't have a way to demonstrate. If you had a branch and you come to the very first node of the branch, right? Yeah, okay. You come to the very first node. You go up that first node where that branch connects to the first stem, and that first branch comes off. You'll always get 2 nodes to form, right close together, and then the branch will continue on.
Yeah.
So what I do when I'm cleaning out a plant, like I'll say in flower, is I'll go up that main stem, go to the very first branch that pops up, the very first branch that comes off of that main stem, and remove the first 2 nodes. And then go back to the main stem and go to the next branch up and remove the first 2 nodes and do that all the way up. And that cleans out your middles so good for smaller size plants. If you're outside, you can do that same technique, but go 3, 4 nodes deep. You know what I mean? If you do that, you're going to clean out like a column right down the middle of your plant. And it's going to create such good airflow through there.
I had a pheno this time that was a particularly low yielding one, but it really tasted good. It tasted like pure bubble hash. Like the very first bubble hash I made, it tasted just clean and strong and potent. It's Kush Mint X Stronana. But I did the inverse because I noticed that no matter if you left 2 or 3 nodes, it would still grow small buds. So I just think, well, okay, I will leave everything in the top, but I'll let it branch out because that's the only way I can get a higher yield with this monocrop.
Right.
But that's the difference I've seen. What do you think, like essentially when you leaf stripping in, what do you think is going to happen? Because I think that it's the same thing with the water pressure, that it's going to expand through the shoots because that's where it's regrowing the leaves. So you'll be doubling down on shoots when you're taking fan leaf that's fat and full of sap. That pressure is going to go somewhere.
The pressure increases. Like
the pressure increases into the the mini sized like exponentially growing shoots, the small shoots. That's where I'm thinking the pressure is increasing when you're
so the reason I think that the pressure increases is if you look at a plant the day after a leaf strip, almost every single time I've seen
They'll
a
pray.
leaf strip. They pray hard as fuck
Yeah.
because of that water pressure that you're talking about. Is my guess.
Yeah.
Like you just took off all of the leaves, but you still have all the water. Where's that water going to go? You have nowhere for it to go, and that plant has still got all its roots, and it's sucking up all that water.
Yeah. Just like the GML topping is kind of like you take 2 fan leaves and then you have
That
2
works good.
shoots growing out faster, you know.
I like that technique. I go back and forth between. I do both. So I'll do the GML topping for if I want to just slow that branch down and let other branches catch up to it. But I'll take an actual top, like cut it off and top a plant if I'm trying to take a clone. I like to take my clones off the tops. So I'll purposely let one branch get away from me just so I can cut it off and make a clone because I like my clones coming off the tops.
Right. When I train, I usually pick off the side shoots whenever I want to elongate something, whenever I want to extend something. I think, like, you know, some strains that just keep making shoots, and especially with the LED, they just get in everywhere. So you get that focused ray of light, and it will keep making shoots every 5 centimeters or 1 inch, whatever. So I'll take each of those like in an inverse topping, you can say. You pull both side shoots instead of pulling the head off or the branch off. So that'll give me like more, an inch more of space. And then I'll repeat that if I want more space.
Similar to the manifold techniques, kind of, where how they remove some of those side branches to open up areas.
Yeah, I find it's a clean trade-off. Like I don't think they get. It depends on the size. It's like totally relative to the size. The surface area have always determines the rate of growth, you can say. So picking off a side shoot there, or it's not going to change much. It's just going to save the energy, and your tip will grow faster. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, my biggest problem, I think, is that I'm one of those kids that you tell me not to do something, that's the first thing I want to do, right? So when when my government tells me I can only grow so many plants, then I'm like, okay, I'm going to grow the biggest fucking plant I can, right? Because you've got a plant limit on me. And so I'm perpetually having to, I'm over vegging things because I want to grow these big monsters. And then because I'm over vegging them, I'm having to plant train like what you're talking about. And before you know it, I have this square hedge that's got like 60 tops. So by the time I get to harvest, it's like I'm trimming like my pinky nail buds because I've overtrained. So I just want to warn people, like, it is fun to train, but realize that you can overdo it too. Like, yeah, I want a flat tabletop, but sometimes it makes more sense to do things like what Elke's talking about, and like remove some of these side branches, these small little thin branches that aren't ever going to really amount to a whole lot, so that what does form is going to be something worthwhile. That's another thing that we do at work is I was shown to select what you're removing by the gauge of the branch, which I thought was interesting, but it made total sense once you thought about it. Now, what I mean by the gauge of the branch is how
the width,
how big around that branch is. If it's a real thin, tiny branch, I don't care if it's at the top. It's not going to support a bud being that thin. Just take it off.
Sometimes I even remove the bigger branches from the bottom, just because if they're at the very low and they're really among the top 3 lowest branches.
I'm trying to show everyone, can everyone see the different gauges on those two?
Yeah.
That's a good example for, that small gauge would be one that you'd want to just probably take off and not fuck with.
What do you get different here,
Yeah.
An eighth to a gram. Get rid of this shit. I had someone helping me on this one that I was trying to train, and he missed some of these like this, and you want to keep these. These are the ones that let the plant put the energy into these, not these.
Yeah, you can really triple your workload. I mean, like one plant can become like triple the work if you don't prune those shoots. Like,
oh, for sure. It's the trimming nightmare that you could create. Yeah, especially like plants like Mac 1. Ugh.
Oh, and this is Max
Could you
Stomper right here. So
Yeah, could you imagine?
There's also something glorious about just picking down the very top line of the finest buds, and then come to like your 2/3 and just say, "Oh fuck it, I'll just clip the 2 last big ones and then bubble hash the rest of it, put it straight in the freezer or something." Yeah, I
Oh, yeah.
started doing that before because I was just lazy, but I like that. I mean, like you grow in a grade, and yeah.
Well, that they're even taking it in the commercial. Well, not even commercial. The people are doing it at home too. Is they're just growing for fucking oil now, man. They'll just grow it, chop it, throw it in the freezer. They're not even drying the damn thing anymore, making it real easy on us growers.
Yeah, I heard the yield is way better if you do it like after 7 days at least. I talked to Boom Farms. He's a cool dude. You can visit him on Instagram too. But he said his yield.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
what
gonna
is
want to play. You're gonna want to play with those times. I've heard lots of different times, but for sure, at least a couple days. But
Yeah.
depending on your environment, your dry space, blah blah blah. We all know this, but yeah, you're gonna want to play with that a little bit. That surprises me a whole week. That's the longest I've heard.
I didn't dry it last time I made bubble hash. It was fresh frozen. I didn't get a ton of yield, but I don't know. I mean, like if you're putting in 70 grams of wet, I mean, it's already frozen. There's a shit ton of water in there. Well, how much can you expect? Probably not more than 7 grams or something, like 10%, 20% at most, right? What do you think?
I don't even know. I don't have much experience washing stuff. I don't.
Not fresh.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, we do actually. We've had several harvests where we've harvested fresh frozen. That's an experience doing 150 plants that way, because you gotta
straight into dry ice.
and you have to keep it all one plant together, right? So that makes it a little difficult because they want
and the tags with every single plant.
yeah, dude.
Weigh them before they go in.
And
enter the weights for every single tag.
And that's why you don't see a lot of that. What was it you looking for? The live rosin up there? That's why you're not seeing that, dude.
I just wish a little bit could get up here, you know. I mean, we're looking at buying a freeze dryer just for it. So it's one of those, yeah, I know it won't be a seller, but it's one, I don't really enjoy smoking BHO. I don't like doing dabs. That's about the only thing I really like dabbing. Otherwise, I'm a flower guy all day long.
I'm with you. And when people give me
big flower too.
I shouldn't say this because people are gonna stop giving it to me. But when I get concentrate,
sorry, there's baby foxes at the end of my road. I can't zoom in or I'd show you, but they're like as big as I can say.
You've seen them on your story. I've seen them.
Yeah, like I've watched. They're at the end of my driveway. They live in a culvert at the end of my driveway, and they are very friendly with me. They're fine with me. They're friendly with the cats.
The foxes, dude. The fox itself, or just the babies? The adult is okay.
The babies. The fox itself, I've caught the fox chasing my one cat, but my cat's fast, and my cat climbs trees. Foxes don't climb trees, so.
No, but they can jump 600 feet in the air.
Probably because my cat was fucking with the babies, and so the mother fox is probably just chasing them out of there. But they're so cute. They're much bigger. I can see one right now. They just come up my yard. They're getting closer and closer to my house. I'm gonna snag one. I hear they're real tameable. I think I've already tamed them. There's 4. Come here, my loves.
Oh, I was gonna ask you
in my stories on Instagram.
Do you have a vape? Do you have a vape, Spartan?
I've had vapes, but I tend to throw them away because they're trash. I hate them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, they don't make it taste. They make my weed taste like burnt popcorn. It's like, what the fuck is this?
A lot of the electric ones are not really good, in my opinion. Like a lot of the electric ones can have like a slight aftertaste, or can have like a slight. There's just something about that chamber that tastes a little, like you say, like hot. Yeah. You should try one of the the one with the butane torches, like the sticky brick. I fucking love a little bit of hash in there. It just tastes so. It tastes so pure, and you get so many hits, like from just a little grain of, yeah.
Yeah, I should get one of. I should get something to actually properly consume my cannabis concentrates, but I just don't give a fuck, man. I just put it on top of my bowl and fucking fires away. That
Oh
just makes
yeah,
my
I
bowl
mean,
better.
Well, it's like you're talking
that's what you like.
edibles before. Shit, when it comes to edibles, I'm a pussy. I can't eat shit when it comes to edibles. That's the only thing that really fucks me up anymore.
That's
so
really,
yeah, it's really.
that's really the only way I
eat
really
it and
get.
get it done.
It's the only way I can really guarantee myself's going to get high is if I eat an edible.
Yeah. So out of the edibles on the market, unfortunately, if you were forced to buy one, what's your favorite? Have you tried any good ones?
Well, it depends on what market you're talking about buying from. But,
the unfortunate market where you have to show your ID.
Well, that's the market I've never fucking bought from, so I have very little recommendations.
You haven't
other
tried
than
any dispensary?
I have tried one that was very good, and it was fudge from, I believe it's called Detroit Fudge. Yeah, Detroit Fudge Company.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask if you've tried theirs. There you are. Yeah, they do it right.
They're so good. They're so good. Now, I don't know what it costs. Somebody else had bought it and offered me some, and I, of course, accepted graciously. But that was legit, really, really good. I mean, it tasted just like fudge. It didn't have any.
There are a couple real good ones out there. I mean,
as far as how strong it was,
Midnight Roots had some good ones out there. They're not as
Midnight Roots.
Yeah, they have some good candy bars out there. They get weak when you get on the rec side, but the medical side, we at least get 200 milligrams. So
that's the thing is like it's always so much food for it to be worth enough medication in it. I have to eat a ton of food to get enough medication. So that's why
you got to eat. You think 100 milligrams to get a buzz? 200?
I don't know, man. I don't trust those labels, man, because
I'm talking a good buzz.
I'm going to say if it says 200, then I might be able to feel that.
Okay.
I should probably be able to feel that. I'm going to be mad if I don't.
When it comes to you on those,
but like I've had my RSO tested, and what I'm eating every night's 300 milligrams.
Yeah.
And that's a half a gram. But the half gram, it's like normal. Like if I want to get high, that's not enough. That's I mean, if I want to get like recreational, I'd figure like recreationally stoned, it wouldn't be enough to do it. But it's enough, that little half gram, that's enough to like calm my body down enough to be able to get me where I can sleep all the way through the night without waking up and having to roll over because my back hurts or something.
That's where I'm at. That's what I eat edibles is to help me sleep. And
yeah.
Thank God I don't have to eat as many as you do.
Well, I don't even have to.
I'd be broke with you,
I'm
man.
only eating a half a gram, though. You know what I mean? I'm only eating a half a gram in a capsule. In fact, I need to eat one now. But instead of eating, 30 fucking packs of gummies or something stupid, because
exactly, with a ton of sugar and nasty shit in there for you.
Yeah, and they want regulations. It's not even the edible makers' problem here as far as this is concerned, but they want to regulate how much, potency is in an edible. So, I mean, it's not even their fault.
I like the fact that they have to actually list how much is in there. That's a nice thing. I mean, I'm sure you've seen one on our market, our market. People do the math. Oh, it's so and so for, it's 200 milligrams. You fucking eat it and you're just pissing yourself. You know what I'm talking about. They fucked up their math. My buddy used to caramels. We called them zombie caramels for that reason. They weren't very big, but holy shit, you better hang on if you ate a whole one.
I would love to have tried it, man.
I want some zombie caramels. Shit.
He used to use BHO with them, so they had the weed taste in them, unfortunately.
But I've had stuff that I've had stuff from like producers, and they have, they'd be like, oh, this is our super mega whatever badass whatever, you know what I mean? Yep. I'm like, all right, give me 2 and smash, and don't feel whatever, dude. Get out of here with your bullshit. I can't believe
That's
you
like
just
those,
did that. I don't know. There's something.
pills they have out there.
I'm
Things
assuming
are-
there's something in my metabolism or something the way my body metabolizes it that's blocking something somewhere. It doesn't make sense.
Oh, yeah, but meanwhile, I'm rolling my 5th joint to the show, you know.
I'm just getting
And
back to
it's fucking
smoking.
crazy. What's that?
And like I'm just getting back to smoking. I think I've had like 2 or
Yeah.
3 bowls today, but I've been probably since Friday. I think Friday was the last time I had smoked.
You were sick,
I'm
right?
gradually, yeah, I was sick. I had this weird chest cold thing, and it's still kind of have it going on. It's like basically it's like having a runny nose that won't ever stop, but it like accumulates.
Can you taste anything?
Yeah, in your chest at night or some shit. I don't know, but so I have like this weird cough. So I wasn't smoking because I thought maybe that was agitating it. I don't know. I feel way better than I did on. Probably the worst was on Saturday, but I feel way better now. And I smoking, it doesn't seem to affect my cough any more or less. I'm coughing about the same, so I'm back to smoking.
Not smoking.
Yeah,
Nothing's better.
I'm still babying it a little bit, but yeah.
I want to smoke some of this Max Stomper next to me, but it's not ready yet. So
there's a question in the chat directed at me, but I'm interested in other people's answers as well. So how long do you like to cure in a jar after drying? How many weeks? In cool, 7, dark, burping 2 times a day. I don't really understand that, but I personally like to cure for at least 2 weeks. Way longer if I have stash already that I don't need to like jump into it right away. But I like to try mine right away. Like this hasn't even been curing for like, it's like already really nicely cured. You can't see it. I know it's purple and beautiful, but it's very dense and like already cured to my satisfaction after only like a week. So I guess it just depends on what your preference is. What do you guys do?
I do 2 to 3 weeks. If I can, usually it's gone by then.
Oh, burping as well. Talk about burping because I didn't talk about it, but I burp once a day. Yeah, once a day.
It depends on moisture level, humidity levels. This summer has absolutely sucked the way the humidity has just been a roller coaster up here. So it's been shit. I've had weed you couldn't get dry in 3 weeks with humidifiers running up here. So it's been brutal.
Yeah, that's also what I was gonna say. Like you can feel it when it's like that it won't change it any more before it gets like way older.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Then that terpenes are not that harsh and stuff. And I don't know. What do you think, Spartan?
I personally hang dry and cure for 14 days before I even start trimming. And then I put them into glass containers after they're trimmed in that same environment. That's my dry room. I have shelves in there, and that's where I store my stuff too. So it's always at that right humidity, temperature. So I never really rush to trim because even if it's dry, it can cure right on those sticks until I can get to it. So it's hard to answer that question. I don't burp, for one. No, I never burp jars. Fuck that. And that's why I built up my dry room. Because why fuck with all that when you can, instead of having a million jars, why don't you just have one room that does that for you automatically with controlled equipment? So that's my take on that. And my dry room is small. It's not like it's an elaborate big thing. It's a small ass little space behind me. Actually, it's the width of this, and it's probably maybe 4 feet long. Maybe closer to 6 feet long. But it's got an air conditioner in there. You know, I mean, all the temperature controls and everything. But no lights. I don't even have a light in there. I have to take a flashlight in there with me to make sure that no light goes in there. But yeah, I like to keep the temperature and humidity on point and then just keep my weed in that environment.
I've followed your advice, and I must say that, yeah, it takes a lot of guesswork out of it. And I don't know, maybe I could get it better by doing it earlier. I don't know. But in my opinion, it's just always come with risks, or it's always come with, yeah.
Yeah, the whole burping thing is micromanaging to a level that I don't want to be at. I do enough work during the day to where that's the stuff that I don't find fun. To me, that's not fun. So I eliminated that. And I limited that by letting it be be fully cured until before I put it in a glass jar. So I'm trimming it when it's cured. At least it's generally closer. It's very often, like I'm looking at my schedule here, it's very often that it's 3 to 4 weeks before it hits glass. But
what if it's a really hot
soonest would be
summer?
2.
Like, looks like we're going into a hot summer this summer. So what do you think? Like, if you're at 30 Celsius, like,
I don't think it matters what the temperature is outside. As long as my inside temperature is sealed and I have an air conditioner in there, it doesn't really matter how hot it gets outside.
oh no, not outside, but I mean, like,
Oh, you're saying in the room
if
itself?
you had no options and your rooms were at 25 C, something like that.
So if I
Wouldn't you
had no
cut something
options,
off?
yeah. So if I had no options, I would deal with what I had to deal with, and I would try to. If I was dealing with higher heat than what I'd like to deal with, I would just try to combat that with as much air movement as I possibly could get in there. And I would also leaf strip. So I would, before I brought them in there, I would make sure at least all the big fan leaves were off, and maybe even do a quick trim where you're getting most of the ends of the sugar leaves off even too, just to try to remove as much plant material as possible because all that stuff's going to release moisture into the air in that heat, and it's just going to release really fast. So I would try to
Oh, you'd be scared of spikes, like humidity
yeah,
spikes, because of that?
because I would be scared as soon as you put that into a hotter or a warm environment that all that moisture is just going to try to fill that warm air. Because as the air cools, it can hold less moisture. But if it's warm air, it's going to be able to hold more moisture. So I feel like it's going to be pulling moisture.
All right. But what I'm asking is if you'd cut off some of the time of the 14 days. So maybe it'll be crisp even at
Oh, for
day
sure.
10.
Yeah. If I'm
or
not in
9.
the correct, yeah. Yeah, for sure. If I'm not in the correct environment, for sure, all that goes out the window. And I'm just in there every day making my judgment call by looking at the flower material itself. I'll pinch it, I'll feel it. I'll do anything like you can bend the stems. That's another way to kind of judge where you're at. But yeah, then you're going back to like the more
Also, small signs
guessing.
like the scissor. If the scissor is sticking to a lot of leaves, then it's definitely maybe go a day, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you just have to go off of experience at that point, going back to when we were guessing.
I last time I think it was around 14 days and was still sticking to the scissor, and I knew it had been at 60, 62. And then someone told me that before it's at 55, you probably won't feel the same crispiness as where you're thinking that it's ready to trim. I don't know. I thought a little bit about that, but I don't know. What do you
You
think?
also have to remember like the time frame in your head, like always in the back of your head, like, okay, this has been hanging for 5 days.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be ready by now. You know, you have to have the time frame too, because the way that these buds dry, they dry from the inside, so all the moisture is held on the inside.
Yeah,
So
this was
once
winter where I was
yeah,
drying really slow, but
so you're trying to wick it out to try to so it dries slowly. If it dries quickly, then that's when you get that hay smell, and that it leaves behind as the water kind of evaporates off. It leaves behind the chlorophyll. You get like, I don't know. I just call it hay smell. I don't know how else to describe it. Wet grass.
yeah, it sucks. It really sucks.
Yeah. So you really just want to slow down the moisture coming out of it. So the best you can do with whatever parameters you have, that's your goal. And then if you're in a situation to where you're going to be, you know, in high heat, you can hope that the air movement can help you there. But high heat, you're going to lose some terps at the most. I mean, I don't know how to say it. In the very least, the best case scenario, you're going to have less terps, but you could still definitely for
85
sure.
to 90, the first terpene starts boiling off.
I think 90, yeah, in the
85 to
90s.
90,
Yeah.
90, right around there, yeah.
Man, I don't like to see my temperatures above fucking 70. I mean, 70, I'd be worried. If I started seeing 71, 72, I'd be wanting to be like, why is my air conditioner not turning on? That's where I like to be. I like to be cold in my dry room. Cold as I want 60s. I want to be in the 60s. And my humidity, if I put a fresh plant in there, I can have my humidity set at 50. But if it's been in there for more than a day, I want it to be at 60%. A day or two. I might leave it at 50 for 2 days if I have a lot of plants in there. Just to, I'm worried the initial couple of days, most of the moisture comes out. And I'm worried that my little setup can't handle a big of a spike like that. So that's why I like to bring that humidity down, that extra 10% that first couple of days.
Makes sense. Yeah, you get those right conditions, especially if you're keeping it cold like that. If you get them humidity spikes too high, you're creating all kinds of problems there. So
yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
I'd rather keep a little on the safe side also. So are the foxes any closer there, Miss Nudie?
No, but
No.
my iPad is running out of batteries, so we should probably wrap it up.
Yes, ma'am.
This has been an extended version of Hydro Hustlers, which I love. The time just flew by.
Holy
Spartan's
cow,
like
10:30.
our bestie. Yeah, it's even later out there.
Yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. So I guess each of us take a turn, wrap it up, and say good night to everyone. I'll start it off. Thank you, Spartan, for an enjoyable evening. It's been fun getting to know you better and learning a little more into your insights and your tricks on things. Thanks to Illuminar Lighting, of course, as always, who I wouldn't have free lights without them. So I always got to thank Illuminar Lighting. They're like family to me. You know, if I have issues, I call them up. They take care of me right away. Scott's a great guy. He was on the show a couple months ago. Their owner, he's a great guy. So thanks to them, and I hope everyone has a great month. Can't wait to see everyone next month. Next.
Cool. We're gonna try and get a lady on next month, I think. So I have so many that I'm trying to think of that I'll narrow it down soon and announce that. But I really, really appreciate you, Spartan, in so many ways. You're a big mentor to me well before this show. So I'm very glad to get to hang out. And thank you for coming on the show. And I learn something all the time, and keep hustling it over there, and I'll keep hustling it over here. You send me your stuff that you want me to add into or edit into the comments or whatever, and I'll get everyone hooked up with Spartan over on Instagram, all his live shows, everything. It'll all get listed underneath us after this show. So again, I appreciate you. I appreciate these guys. As always, much gratitude to you guys, and have a safe and happy evening and month.
Well, thanks guys for having me on here. This is fucking awesome. I just come hang with you guys anytime you want. You know, it's just another day. Just ask me and I'll be here. But awesome. I want to apologize again to chat. I tried twice to really pay attention to chat, and then I promptly forgot again. So I'm sorry. But I saw Grandmaster Level just popped in. So shout out to Grandmaster Level.
Shout out to them.
Times, so
yeah,
great show and great community over there.
Yeah, awesome to see Grandmaster Level and everybody else in the chat too. I don't want to make everybody think I missed out on anybody, but I like every fucking name I'm looking right now. I notice every one of them. I see them all.
So many cool
chats.
names.
Yeah, I love that about this community.
Tonight, so.
Representing Michigan, Canada, Denmark, probably all just worldwide. We're doing worldwide worldwide things.
Prestige worldwide.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot for coming, Spartan. It was definitely interesting at the end, and yeah, I think we had fun. You were like totally comfortable, and yeah, we just hung out, had fun.
Well, thanks.
All right. Any final words, Spartan? And then I'm going to cut it.
Growers love.
We're
Growers love is my final words.
Yeah, cheers,
All
everyone.
right.
Growers love and caregiver love here in Michigan. We love y'all.
Yeah, everybody
Yeah.
keep growing. Fuck what everybody else says. Keep
So,
growing.
and fuck the corporations.
Fuck the corporations. Boom. No more weed factories.